some time since we last saw you. So I guess just how's life been health-wise and just everything outside of the fight game since your last fight?
Oh, it's been good. Obviously, aiding in some of these injuries that I had to look after. Just, like spending more time with my family and whatnot, and helping my brother with his fights in the time I've been injured, yeah.
So these injuries, have they been stuff that you've been carrying into the last few of your fights, and now you finally do you feel finally healthy coming into this one?
Yeah, for sure. It's really hard in this sport, to say no to fights, because it's like someone's coming up to you and saying, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" You know what I mean? And you can't just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna do nothing." You're gonna say yes and try fight.
Were you hoping to fight sooner, or were you, taking time away and hopefully to get on the next big Australia card?
No, I tried to fight on that card last year against Kennedy, but the biggest thing I learned over the last year was not to force my hand. I think everything happens for a reason, and try not to push my case. I just go with the flow, and things work out better that way.
You have a guy in Tallison Teixeira who's undefeated guy in the UFC. So I guess what do you make of him, or are you even a guy that watches your opponent's fights, or do you just show up and do your own thing?
Yeah, I've watched a couple of tapes. Nothing too frantic or anything. I leave that to my team, but honestly, if you're tall, it's always going to be a hard task. You know what I mean? It's like, but nothing I haven't seen before. You know what I mean? Height's only good if you can use it, and height's only good if you can keep someone away.
We hear MMA vets say, one of the more dangerous things is being an undefeated prospect in the UFC, because you get to the big show, you've never tasted defeat, you've not had to climb back from a loss. So I'm curious, do you agree with that narrative that it is kind of dangerous to be this undefeated prospect because you haven't felt what it's like to feel a loss?
Yeah, for sure. I think my brother's fight in Vegas was a prime example of that. It's easy to feel like you're the shark when you've been there dominating until you meet someone else that's another shark. And he had that fight against someone that had finished all his opponents too. And then, my brother has been tested, and that's why he came over with the W. That was the difference.
Then just last one for me, unrelated to this fight. I was going through your social media, and you posted, I think it was a photo of your aunt that had woken up from a coma, and I think you used the phrase, you didn't understand back then, but now you're kind of understanding. So I guess what exactly did you mean by that?
Well, that post was, I think, just before I signed with the UFC, and I just didn't like. She said that, and I loved my footy back in the days, and I was half decent. So I thought her dream was me playing footy, you know what I mean? And then when that dream kind of finished, I thought, oh, I didn't understand it. Maybe it was just, just a dream. And then when I signed to the UFC, I was like, oh, I get it now. You know what I mean? I think I was fighting in Houston, and I was like, oh, this is the crowd she was probably dreaming of. So, yeah.
Hey, Justin. So you're a staple on the Aussie cards now. When you hear Aussie cards announced, do you start thinking, oh, should I better start getting into camp?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm like, there's nothing like a 1 hour trip down here, I love America and that, but there's long flights to take a toll, especially when you're my size, flying economy. But, if someone wants to change that, it's up to them.
And you haven't lost an Aussie yet either. And is it just something about fighting in front of a home crowd that just kind of gasses you up a bit and gets you going a bit more?
I lost my debut in Melbourne, but besides that, I don't know. I've just been lucky, I guess. That's all I put it on to. I train as hard as my opponent, and I go out there and just do my thing.
And can I get it on record that you're going to come to the Avondale reunion this year?
Me and this guy were in the same geography class at school, You know what? I was the smarter student.
He was. I was number 2. Cheers, bro.
Maybe.
And it's Justin to your left. How much does you and your brother being in the UFC help? And who's sort of the one that keeps you on track, or is one of you one that likes to party more or anything like that? Who's the one that kind of? Can you talk about that dynamic with your brother?
I think you would guess it right if you were to choose. It's not me, but a bit of both. But my brother loves to party. I love the Barbies. So I think they work out the same effect, if you don't manage it right. But we keep each other honest now and then.
And is your UFC career on the trajectory that you thought it would be and what you want to, or are you a little bit behind or a little bit ahead of where you thought you'd be?
I think I'm where I should be. You know, like I've had a lot of time to think about that. Before I was like, man, I should have been cracking the ranking, but I came in with 3 fights, like 4 rounds under my belt. You know, fighting guys all around the world on main cards, and then that they put me in the deep end quite quick. And at the beginning, I was learning, and then I finished 3 guys in a row. Obviously, dropped that last one. So, man, 3-1 in my last 4 or 5 is pretty decent. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm still on the up. And I'll show you guys on Sunday.
Do you think after your MMA career you'll venture into boxing or bare knuckle or anything like that, or is MMA just all or nothing, and then kind of you walk into the sunset when you're done?
Yeah, I might give footy another crack after this. You know, I'm sure there's some stem cells that can help me reignite the NRL dream of mine. Yeah.
And prediction for the weekend?
Oh man, I've been wanting a bloody war for a while. That's what my heart desires. Test this man's soul and see if he wants to go the depths that I want to go. But if a knockout comes, a knockout comes.
Thank you.
Justin, another quick one right here. Just because you brought it up, your first loss. I interviewed you in Houston, and it was after that big Melbourne card, the biggest, like the record-breaking crowd. And I think your exact phrase was, "Well, it can't get any worse than that."
Sure,
So, have you thought about that like often, like leading into your fights? Is like you felt what it's like to like that, and everything else is up from there.
100%, man. This week I kind of clicked on how mature I've become. You know, during fight week, you know, it's a lot of stress, a lot of pressure and whatnot. But now I've learned to enjoy the week and the process. You know, I get to come and show my son what I do for work. You know, my other son's on his way on Friday, and I'm enjoying it now because there's things out of your hand that you can't control, and you can't just dwell on that stuff because then it interrupts with the enjoyment of enjoying the process. So yeah.
I just wanted to get a prediction from you for the main event.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough fight. You know, I like both guys, man. They're gritty guys, so I expect a war, bro, 5-round war.
Justin, back here. You're going up against a man who is undefeated. How do you approach someone who has never lost a fight?
Man, you go there, stand in the cage, and throw it out. I don't know how else, bro.
You talked about coming to the UFC, kind of getting thrown in the deep end a little bit. When you look at the fighter you were when you debuted in the UFC to who you are now, what are the differences that you see?
A lot of it's got to do with like patience and being more selective and just picking my time to attack and defend and whatnot. I feel like that's the biggest thing. My mindset towards the fight has developed where I can just ease up on myself a little bit more, and then you know it's not the end of the world kind of thing. I still get to go home and I see my family and whatnot.
And talking before about how you're kind of a staple of Australian cards and such, something about you and your brother, it's like Tafa gang versus the world, but you guys are so kind of beloved at home and you've got so much support here. Is it difficult to keep that us versus everyone attitude when so many people are on your side?
Yeah, I just feel like they just resonate with what we believe in kind of thing, you know. We're all just, we're just some underdogs in this world, bro, and the more people that feel that way, they must just feel alike.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Hang on, Justin. Was it tough in fight camp trying to find partners that would mimic Teixeira's style and also his size, like being 6'7", 83-inch reach? Was it tough finding someone that could, be in place as your training partner?
Yeah, for sure, man. I thought he was 6'9", and 6'8", 6'7". I was like, anything over 6'6" is too tall for me, you know what I mean? But things out of your control, you can't really, dwell on. We just focus on ourselves and the game plan that, we got set for this fight. So, yeah, it was very difficult to find an opponent, but like a sparring partner to emulate it. But, man, Austin Lane was 6'7", and I had my 6-foot brother there being my sparring partner.
Nice. Thank you, brother.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.